The biggest threat to the state of Israel and to world stability is the Ayatollah with a nuclear weapon. He's on the verge of that. I fear that he may try to break out before the election, thinking Trump is coming back.
That was South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham moments ago on the program discussing this new threat from Iran. Well, it appears like it might be reaching a new stage. We're back with the panel. Okay, so the Foundation for Defense of Democracies has this report. The Islamic Republic of Iran appears to be in the process of significantly advancing its nuclear weapons program in the coming weeks, while Americans are preoccupied with politics at home, and Israel is busy battling Hamas and Hezbollah, and maybe the Houthis, it sounds like, overnight as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a sense that Iran is taking advantage of the fact that the United States is very busy and in the middle of a very busy presidential election, one that, quite frankly, recently has not so much focused on foreign policy, that has been kind of set to the side. And there have been concerns, and Axios has reported the U.S. has already issued a warning to Iran about this, about their concerns that they could be producing a nuclear weapon. Earlier in the summer, they sent a warning. And this does seem to be a big issue, and we are watching this timeline. Do they end up announcing something before the presidential election, before there's a chance that someone who might be harsher on Iran comes into power in January? And this could certainly become a huge election issue moving forward.
And like you said, we haven't heard a ton of talk about this. Real Clear Defense had this a couple of days ago on the Iran issue. They said neither presidential candidate has offered a clear alternative strategy, nor have they drawn serious attention to the problem. Horace, how do we get more of a conversation about how these two would handle this?
Well, first of all, this needs to get focused on right now. I mean, maybe it's time for the president to put the waffle cone down, get off the beach lounger, and say, I am going to do everything that I can to make sure that we protect this country. You know, it's Bob Gates, the former Obama defense secretary, that said he's been wrong on every issue. You cannot and should not kick this can down the road. Yes, I want to hear from both of our candidates that are running. America needs that. But the real issue is this ought to be resolved now, not later.
Well, the Wall Street Journal editorial board talks about this as, you know, in light of the fact that we got reporting from the Wall Street Journal last week that Iran is providing weaponry to Russia. They say this about the whole cycle. The Biden administration's refusal to enforce sanctions on Iranian oil sales has enriched the regime so it can afford to build more missiles. It then supplies those missiles to Russia, which uses them to bombard Ukraine, which the U.S. is supplying with defenses against those missiles. Wouldn't it make sense to stop enriching Iran in the first place? Megan.
Yes, but I resent the fact that the administration cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. They can handle domestic issues, and they can also handle the foreign policy. They have an entire State Department, they have a national security team that are doing those things. The president and the vice president have worked extremely hard. They have hundreds of sanctions on Iran. They are committed to them not getting a nuclear weapon. Do I know the ins and outs of what they should be doing versus Ukraine? No, but they are committed to having Ukraine defend itself, unlike the former president, who can't commit to defending a NATO ally or one of our NATO allies in democracy against Russia. And they're also committed to having Iran not get a nuclear weapon.
Well, and what about that issue with Ukraine? You know, I tried to get an answer from Senator Graham on where the former president is on this, because he says he wants to end it. But again, Ukrainians do not want that to involve ceding territory to Putin. They think it is only going to invite more aggression, but I'm not sure what his plan is to end it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we start with, yes, they are doing things. They're just not doing anything particularly well, right? I mean, this is all sort of a disaster. You start with the Iran piece. The one thing that you can count on from an Obama, Biden, Harris administration is bungling of Iran. That's right. I mean, that is something that has followed us now for 12 long years. I think as it relates to Ukraine, one of the things that I find so interesting about this current debate is they're asking us permission essentially to use these longer range missiles. And of course, we play an important role because we're supplying said missiles. But it is a perfect metaphor for this administration's handling of this entire conflict, because you're sending long range weapons, you're just governing how far they can go, right? So, look. Do you want to win this war, or do you want a diplomatic solution? You've got to do one of the two, and some clarity has got to be there at the outset.
Steph, quick final word on this as the White House tries to make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at what they've done in the past. We've had similar negotiations, whether it was over tanks or fighter jets, whether the U.S. was going to provide Ukraine the assistance it's asking for. And we've seen kind of this pattern of lots of debate, but then ultimately the U.S. moving forward.
Well, we'll see how it wraps up this time around. Panel, thank you very much. We'll see you next Sunday.